Happy Marvelous Monday. Apparently Marvelous means to dress up all fancy, so I got dressed up fancy for you. You're welcome. Okay, so it is now the middle of chapter 12, and our friends, Tobias and his family and Skillet, have taken the herd across the state, and it was moving very slow, so let's see what happens next. They followed the herd southward for a month, sometimes moving several miles in a day, and other times not moving at all. The cows grew larger each day, and even their hides took on a sleek luster. Ooh, remember that word from our science unit? It's about how something reflects light. Tobias swore he could actually see them put on weight with each mouthful of grass they swallowed. Even the old nag horse seemed to get heavier on the prairie grass and grow stronger. Several times they passed within the sight of wild herds, some of them 5 times larger than the one that they had, but they didn't go after them. Tobias thought it would be too much for them to handle. It would take more men, more horses to capture brand cows in such large numbers, and in his mind, he was already searching for a way to hire more people to join his little band. One night when they were eating supper, Zech said, "Papa, who owns all this land out here?" Tobias wondered why a boy Zech's age would even ask such a question. "The Lord," Tobias said. "You reckon he would give us some of it?" "Well, you got it now. You can roam it wherever you please. The Lord put it here for everybody." "But what if somebody else comes along here besides us with a herd? How can we keep those cows apart?" "Well, it's big enough for everybody, Zech. There ain't enough cows and people in the whole wide world to fill it up." Then Zech said, "Skillet told me that the place where he was kept a slave was owned by a man, and he owned all the land, and nobody else could come on it. If we own the land, maybe we could put a fence around it like the pen we built, and then we wouldn't have to follow the cows. We'd just turn them loose because they couldn't get out." "That is foolish boy talk," Tobias said. "Nobody's ever going to fence in this land. There's too much of it. This right here ain't a drop in the bucket. There ain't no man that's ever even seen all of it. The Lord put it here for everybody to use." Emma was listening. She said, "Well, somebody might own it someday, Tobias. All the land in Georgia is owned. You know that." "A man would have to be a fool to buy something he could use for nothing," Tobias said. "This ain't Georgia. This here is farmland. They're there, they farm the land. Here they don't. This land ain't worth much more than grazing cows. The whole place is wilderness. Georgia ain't." Tobias then changed the subject. "Speaking of cows, about time I found out what we were going to do with the ones we got. I figure we'd probably head out west of Fort Pierce by now. In the morning, I'm going to ride over there and find it. Somebody there will know about the market." "Oh, will you be gone long?" Emma asked. "Not more than a day and a night. Couldn't be too far to the coast. I got to find out where we can sell these cows." "Well, if you find lard, buy some. We just don't have any anymore. I can't make biscuits without it." So lard is like a grease that they use to bake things in so it doesn't stick. There were orange groves in the outskirts, and dirt road ran past them into the village of Fort Pierce. There was no activity on the sultry streets as Tobias walked the horse slowly going past a dock where a coastal schooner was being loaded. Then, coming to a barn-like building with a sign, "General Merchandise," after tying his horse to a rail, he went inside. The store was deserted except for a man sitting behind the counter swatting flies with a matted palm fan. He said to Tobias, "Flies get real bad this time of year. Skeeters, too. Sometimes I wish they'd just go after each other." "Hey, you got any lard?" Tobias asked. "How much do you want?" "A bucket." The man went behind the counter and brought out a 1-gallon can. 25 cents. "Anything else? You got a Dutch oven?" "Nope, but I got some frying pans." "I got a frying pan." Tobias sniffed the air. "Is that coffee I smell?" "Sure is. Just ground a fresh batch. Come in on the schooner yesterday." "How much is it?" $1 for a 5-pound bag." "I'll take it. And a coffee pot, too, if you got one." The man went to the shelf, returned with a tin coffee pot. "All right, $1.50 for both." As Tobias was counting out the money, he said, what do they do with all them oranges I seen is coming up in here?" "Well, they ship them up north on a schooner, and some goes up to the Inland Gate waterway to Jacksonville on them little boats." "How much do they sell for?" "Bringing about 5 cents a 100-pound weight right now. A man can make a good living with oranges. In a good season, you could clear up to $3 a tree, and they're going to be worth more than that. It's a smart move to plant a grove." "Ooh, I just might do that," Tobias said. The man put all of Tobias' purchases into a brown paper sack. "Anything else now?" Just some information, if you please. You know anything about selling cattle?" "Right smart. Man of my business has to be up with things. What you want to know?" "Well, I need to know where to sell them." "You got yourself a herd?" "Yeah, it's out there on the prairie west of here." "Well, there ain't no market for cows here in Fort Pierce except for a few at a time to the butcher's shop. But if you sell them out there on the prairie, you could probably get about $4 a head tops. Best place now is over on the west coast. The Cuba trade is getting real good again. You could take them over there to a shipping point and you'll get at least $12 a head, maybe more." Where over there?" "The best place is Punta Rassa, and they're shipping out of Tampa too." "Well, where's Punta Rassa?" "Down south of Fort Myers." Well, where's Fort Myers? The man gave Tobias a penetrating look. I tell you what you ought to do, fella. You got a herd? Point it straight west. When you come to a big body of water, that will be the Gulf of Mexico. Then you either turn right or you turn left. You turn right, sooner or later you'll come to Tampa, unless you go past it, and then you'll end up in Pensacola. If you turn left, you'll come to Fort Myers or Punta Rassa. If you miss both of them, then you're headed for Key West, and that's a long swim. All right, let me just look at the map really quick. So here's Florida. So here they are right now, kind of driving the cows. They're at Fort Pierce. That's where the trading post is. So it's all the way on the east coast. So he said head west, and if you head west, you kind of run right into where we are. So Tampa's here, and if he said if you go right, you'll get to Tampa, but if you go left, you'll come to Punta Rassa, which is down here by Fort Myers. And then he said if you keep going, you're going to end up down here to Key West, where Key West is way down there. You're going to end up swimming. Tobias picked up the sack and said, well, I sure thank you for the information. And then he walked out. During the ride back to join his herd, his mind calculated figures. $4 a head for 148 cows was more money than he had ever seen or even hoped to see. With that, he could buy Emma a wood stove instead of a Dutch oven, and many other things too. But $12 a head boggled his imagination and was beyond comprehension. And all that additional money just to drive the cattle to a place called Punta Rassa, a thing he and Zek could easily do. He could see visions of someday soon hiring drovers and moving herds 10 times as large as his present one. Masses of cows all cutting a trail to Punta Rassa. When he found the herd, it was late afternoon and they had already made camp for the night. Emma was by a fire cooking supper, and Zek and Skillet were out with the cows. Tobias tied the horse to a wagon wheel, and Emma said, "Did you get the information you wanted?" "Sure did, and the lard too." He took the can from the sack and handed it to her. "Oh, that's good. I'm going to make biscuits for supper. I know Zek and Skillet are hungry." "There's more too," Tobias said teasingly. "Turn your head and close your eyes." He put the sack beneath her nose and she sniffed and cried, "Coffee? You got coffee?" "And a pot to make it in." "Oh, I'll go now and fill it with water," she said eagerly. "Then you could sit and watch as it boils. I bet the smell will bring Skillet in. Zek won't even know what it is." As soon as the pot was bubbling, Tobias poured a tin cup of the steaming liquid and sipped slowly. "Coffee and biscuits at the same time," he moaned. "It has been a long time, Emma." Zek and Skillet rode in, tied their horses, and Skillet said immediately, "Do I smell what I think I smell?" "What do you think you smell?" Tobias asked. "Coffee? Sure is, and it's ready now. Pour out a cup." Skillet picked up the pot and said, "A voice been telling me all day something good was going to happen to good old Skillet, and now it's come to pass. Praise the Lord." Emma turned from the cooking pot and said, "What'd you find out about the cattle, Tobias? With all the excitement about coffee, I forgot to ask." "Well, how would you like to see a place called Punta Rassa?" "Where's that?" Zek asked. "It's over on the west coast, clear across the state. They're buying cows there now for Cuba, $12 a head. As soon as our cows hit about 500 pounds each, we're going to head west. I figured it ought not to be more than 3 weeks, maybe less." "Punta Rassa," Emma repeated. "That's a pretty name. Does it mean anything?" "It means $12 a cow, and we got 148 of them. I can't even figure that high." "I'll go out there and make them old cows eat faster," Zek said. "I want to go now. How far is it, Papa?" "I don't know, but it's over there. All we got to do is head west." All right, math challenge question. $12 a cow if you have 148 of them. So 148 times 12. I'm going to put it in the form question if you guys want to try to challenge yourself to figure out how much money that is. All right, have an awesome Monday.